Hi knitting friends, Shaina Bilow here. In today's video, I want to talk about how to increase for sleeves. And I've knitted two samples here, sleeve A and sleeve B. On sleeve A, I worked make one left increases on this side of the work at the beginning of the row and make one right increases at the end. And on sleeve B, I put make one right increases at the beginning of the row and make one left increases at the end of the row. I did this so that you can see the difference in the two increase styles and how they either kind of fit in smoothly with the sleeve as shown in sleeve A, or there's a little bit more of an abrupt change right here as we can see in sleeve B. Now, typically your patterns will ask you to increase one stitch at each edge of the row on an increase row. So you have to increase at the beginning of the row and at the end. Some patterns give you very specific instructions. So knit two, make one, knit to the last couple stitches, make one, knit two. Other patterns will be a little more vague. So whether you have a vague pattern or not, you can always adjust according to your taste. My personal preference for increasing is written down below this video, so you can save that and use that when you increase for sleeves. But my preference is sleeve A for the increase. I like this subtle inclusion of new stitches into the fabric, and that increase is worked by working knit two, make one left, knit to the last two stitches, make one right, knit two. I'll demonstrate a make one right and a make one left in a moment. But before I do, I just want to fold these sleeves so you can see what the seams look like on this side. What the sleeve shaping would look like if we were to seam it together. All right, so here's sleeve A. And here's sleeve B. I like making sure that I have at least one stitch at the edge of my work before and after my increase. So I would always make sure I have at least one stitch before doing an increase at the beginning of the row and at least one stitch after an increase at the end of the row so that I have a nice smooth line to seam. All right, but this is what it would look like. So you can see it's very subtle, the increasing here. The differences in the increasing here, but again, my personal preference would have been sleeve A, but I have both written out for you, A and B. And this shows you the difference between the two. Very subtle again. This here is an example of a pattern for a sleeve, and I want to note a couple things with you. So here the pattern asks us to increase one stitch each edge. So again, that's the beginning of the row and the end of the row. And here, if we read on, each edge on the next row, so whatever came before that, we'd now be increasing. And every following either 12th, 8th, 8th, 6th, depending on your size. So if we were doing the 6th size, we would be doing every 4th row for a total of 17 increase rows. 34 stitches increased, 78 stitches total. So what this means, if we're increasing on the next row, we'll call that row number 1. There's our first increase row. And then every following 4th row, that doesn't mean you increase then on row 4, and then row 8. What that means is you're increasing on the 4th row from row 1. So increase on 5, and then 4 rows from there, 4 rows from there, 4 rows from there, and so on. So we would increase on rows, etc., until we have a total of 17 increase rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You'd keep increasing that way until you've worked a total of 17 increase rows every 4th row. All right, so that's how to follow a pattern. And finally, I'd like to just demonstrate how to work make one left and make one right in case you're unfamiliar with those increases. They happen to be my favorite because they're pretty subtle. So make one left increase. What we're going to do is take the left hand needle and insert it into this strand from the front towards the back. So my needle is coming forward, my left hand needle is coming forward, and I go through the back. I go from the front to the back, just like this. So now I have a little loop on my needle, as you can see. I want to knit that loop closed, so I'm actually going to knit it through the back of the stitch. So you'll notice my right hand needle now is coming behind the stitch. I'm going to take my left hand and open up that stitch a little bit so I can get into the back of the stitch. And then I wrap my yarn for knit and bring it through. So you can see I have this little twist here. And I do have other videos for make one. So if you want very specific instructions there, please check out my other videos. I'll link them below as well. For the make one right, what we're going to do is with the left hand needle and that bar that's laying between the stitches, so the same that we did here, we're going to actually pick it up from behind towards the front like this. All right, so my needle is coming behind the bar and then towards the front. So you can see this loop is sitting differently on the needle. It's actually pointing towards the right now, as opposed to the make one left was pointing to the left. I'm going to loosen up that stitch, insert my needle in to the front of the stitch, because again I want to twist it closed, wrap my yarn for knit, and come through. And that right there is a make one right. It's a little twisted closed loop. I hope this video was helpful and made you think of new ways to increase for your sleeves. Happy knitting!